You see the folks behind us. They are part of the audience. Some of them are going to be on the panel. Young lady I'm about to introduce is part of that panel as well. Here at Kessler Foundation, talking about a whole range of issues involving our veterans. Elaine Katz is Senior Vice President for Grants and Communications at Kessler Foundation. Talk about why the forum tonight is so important, Elaine.
It's so important tonight because veterans want jobs, and the focus of the Kessler Employment Program Center is to fund those innovative, bold solutions that help individuals with disabilities, including veterans, get those jobs.
What are they? Elaine, we've talked before offline about this. I'm fascinated, and you've been with us on other forums about veterans. What are some of the most specific and daunting challenges that veterans face when it comes to employment?
I think one of the challenges is that employers don't understand veterans and the skills that they can bring to the workplace. There's so many skills. They have talent, they have leadership, they have teamwork, they have determination, but most importantly, when you're talking about veterans with disabilities, they can solve problems under adversity. They've done that in the military, they've had to deal that with their own disability, and that's what they can bring as, and in addition to collaboration, to an employer.
Now, the foundation has awarded, not given, awarded, and by the way, we are, the Caucus Educational Corporation to disclose, we have been a grantee, in fact, of the foundation, so trust me, it's awarded. You've awarded grants to certain organizations that are working closely with veterans to help them with employment, like the GI Go Fund. Talk about that.
So our grants in New Jersey have centered on employment with the GI Go Fund that's based in Newark. You know, over the years we've given them additional grants. In 2014 we gave them a grant because when they started they realized they were working to get the homeless vets off the streets of Newark. And they were
down around Penn Station, as I remember.
Right. So the idea is, why are people homeless? Well, they're homeless because they don't have jobs and they're in poverty. So, you know, it's a chicken and egg. So they started working in employment, and we gave them one of the first grants to build out their employment initiatives. And they developed relationships over the years with also Panasonic, which we gave them another grant. The GI Go Fund to work more closely with Panasonic. They've built out a job board, they built out education and training, and have really made it a substantial investment, employment in the GI Go Fund.
You know, Elaine, as we're talking, you've mentioned a couple of corporations, PSE&G, I think Panasonic. Overall, how receptive are most organizations/corporations when it comes to hiring veterans, but also hiring veterans who have physical and or cognitive challenges?
I think that
loaded question, I know.
Right, it's a very loaded question. So, I mean, what we've seen in the market space is that companies want to hire veterans. The question is, even a veteran without a disability, do they really go ahead and hire that population, or are they just paying lip service? So because there's a tight labor market, and we heard recently in the news that we're almost at full employment, employers are starting to look at disabilities and other underserved populations and communities to find those great workers, and veterans with disabilities happen to be some of those great workers.
So we are making some progress.
Some progress. So there's about 18.5 million veterans in the United States. About 5% of those are veterans with disabilities, and of those, 40% are unemployed. So we still have...
What percent?
40% of the 5.5 million are still unemployed. So we have a long way to go. And it's programs like the GI Go Fund, some of the programs that we have funded nationally, the Veteran Service Network in Maryland. So the Kessler Foundation has worked not only in New Jersey with veterans, but in Florida, in Greater Washington, D.C., and across the country.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thanks, Steve.
We're at Kessler Foundation. There's a forum tonight, an important forum, a discussion, panel discussion on issues that veterans are facing when it comes to employment, whole range of other challenges. We're here with a gentleman who served our country with great honor, Joe Bongon, who was U.S. Navy veteran and with the GI Go Fund. You're the Veterans Assistance Manager. Talk about that, Joe.
As you said, I'm the Veterans Assistance Manager. I help veterans with their needs, if it has to do with education, with their VA claims, or any employment needs where they need a resume done, a cover letter, or interview tips. I'm there to help them with that.
Let's break down some of the specific challenges that veterans face. And I'm curious, a veteran with significant physical challenges and disabilities versus a veteran who does not, is it different when it comes to employment?
I believe it is different because if there is an employer that believes that the veterans' disabilities with PTSD or anything cognitive or anything with their emotions, they feel like they can't integrate to the corporate culture as easy it would be for somebody with disabilities that aren't so I guess, that aren't so serious.
So go back again. You talked about post-traumatic stress syndrome, right? Disorder. I apologize. You're saying that some employers may think that any veteran must have that, or obviously some veterans do deal with it, are challenged by it. How much of this has to do with the stigma that veterans face?
Well, the stigma comes from a lot of the media coverage and maybe movies that employers have seen, maybe firsthand experiences, but they don't understand that these veterans can adapt to different challenges, even if they do deal with disabilities such as PTSD or anything with MST or any other cognitive disabilities that they may have.
So, Joe, you work directly with veterans every day. How hard do they work to put themselves in a position to work?
They're known to work very hard because it's kind of instilled in them ever since they started with basic training, deployments, or anything in that manner. They do work hard. They're always usually on time. They're pretty punctual, and they kind of give it their all. That's what I learned from most of the veterans that I have met with.
Talk about the connection between your organization, the GI Go Fund, and Kessler Foundation.
Well, Kessler Foundation has helped the GI Go Fund to be able to give veterans an outlet to be able to get noticed by Fortune 500 companies or anybody that would like to hire them. We also give them an incubator space for veterans with small businesses, so they don't have to go through the red tape and try to get a nice working space for them.
Final question, how rewarding on a personal level is your work every day with veterans?
Well, when I graduated college, it was hard for me to find a job. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, and I was a struggling veteran, and I thought it would be easy to find a job. And when GI Go Fund gave me a chance to do so, I got to take what I learned, and I get to give back to the veterans that have served our country.
It's interesting. Your experience looking for a job helps you tremendously when it comes to helping veterans find employment, right?
Yes, because I guess when veterans, when they transition, they don't really know how to create a typical resume that a corporation would want, or they don't know how to translate their skills. Veterans use a lot of different acronyms and different terms that civilians may not notice, so I do help them with that.
Thank you, Joe.
No, thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Adler Aphasia Center, Rowan University, PSC&G, the Northward Center, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, Investors Bank, and by United Airlines. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus, New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.